You probably don't matter. That's what my sister told me when the seating plan stuck me out beside the dumpsters. The corridor reeked of roses and disinfectant. I could hear the DJ inside, counting down to the opening dance. My mother fiddled with her necklace. My father stared at the floor. I clenched the present I'd wrapped the night before, tugged the hem of my burgundy gown and picked quiet. No fight, no crying. I rose and stepped into the Vermont night. 5 minutes later the chandeliers fell silent and a shriek sliced the hall in two. This is what followed. The Vermont breeze was crisp that morning, the sort that carries cedar and wealth. My sister Laya had booked the lakeside manor for its old-world elegance, the kind of venue people photograph just to prove they were allowed inside. The crystal ballroom faced the lake, draped with lilies and candles drifting in glass vases. Every table in there gleamed beneath the lights. Mine, it seemed, belonged beside the dumpsters. I had driven 3 hours north from Boston by myself, replaying Mom's final message. Please, Amber, no scenes today. It's Laya's moment. That was all I ever amounted to for her, a rule, a caution sticker, don't speak up, don't take room, don't remind anyone there's a second daughter. We were the textbook family photo duo growing up, the star and the shadow. Laya collected medals and applause, I collected perfect grades nobody noticed. She'd sob and be saved, I'd solve problems and be overlooked. Mom called me low maintenance, Dad called me self-reliant. Both phrases meant the same thing, invisible was easier. The last time I saw them all together was Thanksgiving 3 years back. The house smelled of scorched pastry and pine cleaner. Laya was in Spain with her latest boyfriend, and for once the rooms felt airy. Mom sent me upstairs for an old album from her dresser. Instead I found a small leather diary, pages worn soft from handling. I leafed through it, curious, until I saw every entry started the same. Laya's first recital, Laya's favorite dessert, Laya's graduation. Not one word about me, no birthdays, no name. When I asked, Mom laughed like I'd told a joke. You never craved the spotlight, sweetheart, you were always okay. That night I learned there are 2 ways to be forgotten, misplaced or erased. I thought of that diary as I approached the ballroom, heels echoing on stone. Through the tall windows I watched them pose. Mom in pale gold, Dad fixing his cufflinks, Laya radiant in ivory. She glanced back, spotted me, and offered the polite nod people give waiters they'll never recall. The coordinator blocked my path, clipboard in hand. Miss Hayes, that's me. Her smile wavered when she located my name. You're assigned to the corridor overflow. I waited for the punchline, it never came, corridor overflow. Beside the dumpsters, she pointed to a lone card table near the kitchen doors. From there I could see the whole ballroom, every twinkle, every toast, but a glass wall separated us, real and symbolic. I placed my gift on the table, a tiny box wrapped in silver paper I'd chosen with care, and stared inside. Laya lifted her flute for another photo. Mom adjusted her train. Outside I sat in the chill and repeated the old lie. It's fine, you don't need them, but the ache sat heavy on my ribs, quiet and undeniable. Maybe I didn't need them. That didn't give them the right to act like I was never born. I tried to melt into the scenery like always, but the hallway stayed busy. Staff pushed carts of ice, chuckling softly. Each time the service door swung open I glimpsed swaying gowns, sparkling lights, Mom's proud hand on Laya's shoulder like a medal. Then the laughter changed pitch. I looked up. Laya was gliding toward me, bouquet in one fist, veil floating behind her like mist. She stopped just inside the doorway, reflection doubled in the glass. One worshipped inside, one vicious out here. Well, she said, head tilted, they finally found the spot that fits you. I blinked. Meaning, her half-smile, the one she'd used since we were kids to snatch center stage, curved higher. Guess you don't rate. The sentence landed gentle as a feather, sharp as glass. Guess you don't rate, like it was simple arithmetic, like I was the wrong answer. For a second I couldn't speak. My mouth turned to sand. Behind her the photographer called, "Bride, we need you." She stayed put. She wanted tears, begging proof, I gave her none. I just held her gaze until her smile flickered. "You know," I said softly, "there was always room for 2. You're the one who kept making it smaller." Her eyes thinned. "Oh, spare me, Amber, not everything revolves around you. This is my wedding, try acting happy for once." A dry laugh slipped out of me. "You made sure I couldn't even sit inside." What exactly am I toasting? For an instant the mask cracked, I saw fear. Then she lifted her chin. "You always spin things, maybe Mom's right, you turn everything sour." Mom, the word strung more than I expected. I pictured the leather diary, every page a shrine to Laya. I'm not sour, I said. You just hate that I noticed the truth. She rolled her eyes. You sound exactly like Dad, small and resentful. Accept it, Amber. Nobody here needs your blessing, not now, not ever. She spun away, perfume trailing like smoke. I watched the white dress sweep the floor and felt the old burn behind my eyes. But this time the burn felt pure. When the door shut, I lifted the silver box. The gift I'd wrapped with steady hands and stubborn hope. I ran a thumb over the ribbon, then tucked it into my purse. If they didn't want me inside, fine. I wasn't leaving empty-handed anymore. I sat a while longer, fingertips on the box, listening to muffled music. Their first dance was starting, perfect, framed, photographed. I pictured Mom dabbing tears, Dad clapping too hard, Laya soaking up every cheer, the same scene I'd watched from the sidelines my whole life. Sidelines cut, I stood. My reflection in the glass looked calm, almost elegant if you didn't look close. Inside my bag, the silver box weighed more than paper and ribbon should. I'd wrapped it the night before, knotting the bow tighter than needed. It wasn't only a gift. It was evidence, something that could crack the fairy tale Laya had sold everyone. 3 weeks earlier, I'd bumped into her former colleague over coffee in Boston. Small talk turned confession. Laya had bragged for months about landing Noah, how simple it was to fool him. He's kind, she'd said, but clueless. A few tears in the house, the accounts, the ring are all mine. She laughed, my latte went cold. I hadn't planned to use the information until today. Before I left the corridor, I returned to the gift table by the entrance. The planner was busy rearranging roses. I slipped the silver box onto the stack labeled for Laya and Noah. My handwriting looked calm, intentional. Inside, beneath a crystal picture frame, lay a folded letter and printed screenshots, texts, timestamps, receipts. Not blackmail, just facts. I stepped back, smoothed my dress, checked my reflection once more. My pulse wasn't racing, it was steady, almost peaceful. Then I walked to the exit. Vermont night air slapped my face. The lake glittered under strings of bulbs, a mirror I no longer needed. Faint applause drifted behind me, for a dance I didn't care to witness. For the first time in years I didn't feel tiny. I didn't feel erased. I reached the parking lot, gravel popping beneath my shoes like tiny fireworks. No grand exit speech, just the soft click of a car door. I started the engine, glanced once at the glowing windows, silhouettes twirling behind glass, and murmured, "Let the truth do the talking." Inside, laughter still floated over the music. A saxophone sighed. Glasses chimed. The crowd pressed closer around the newlyweds. Laya shone in her heavy gown, the image of perfection she'd rehearsed for months. Noah twirled her once, twice, cameras flashed gold. From outside the tall windows the scene looked like a music box, sealed, flawless, fake. Then someone opened the silver box. It happened near the gift table. A cousin gathered presents for photos. Someone shouted, "Let's watch them open a few." Laya laughed, tugged the ribbon. Paper drifted to the floor, the lid came off. Inside, the crystal frame, and beneath it the letter. Her fingers froze. "What's this?" Noah leaned in. The note slid out, landed face up. His eyes caught the screenshots first, pale blue bubbles of text. One line stood out, "He's so easy. Cry a little and he hands me everything." The music didn't stop instantly, it just thinned. The violin faltered. Laya's hand trembled. "This is fake, someone's." Noah didn't speak. He kept reading. Page after page. Jokes about rushing the prenup, moving Mom and Dad into the guest cottage once he was settled. The same smirk she'd given me hours ago now looked cheap and brittle. "Who sent this?" she whispered. Her mother-in-law, Victoria, had been watching. When a bridesmaid whispered Amber Hayes, Victoria's face turned to stone. She crossed the floor like a woman used to being obeyed. "Read the rest before you point fingers," she said coolly. "These landed in my inbox this morning from the stylist you fired last month. Wrong group chat, apparently." Laya went white. "That's impossible. It's real," Noah said, voice low. "Dates line up." He flipped to the last page, a photo of her text, "House will be mine by Christmas." A collective inhale swept the room. Phones rose, the photographer lowered his camera. Someone muttered, "Holy hell." Laya lunged for the papers. Victoria stepped between them. "You opened it in front of everyone, darling." That's when the screaming began, not loud at first, more like air hissing from a punctured lung. Laya staggered, her train snagged under her heel. "No, you don't get it, she's lying, my sister." Noah's jaw locked. "Amber didn't write those messages. She planted them, she's jealous, she's always..." "Enough." The word cut the room like ice. "You humiliated her today and thought no one would ever see you for what you are." Every head turned. The DJ killed the volume. A little girl asked, "Mommy, why is the bride crying?" Laya's perfect day melted in real time. She whirled toward our parents. Do something. Mom stood frozen near the cake table, champagne sloshing. Dad studied the parquet floor, neither moved to save her. You knew, Noah said, voice cracking. He pulled a document from his jacket, set it down. Annulment papers, already signed. Laya stared at it like it might bite. You can't do this, Noah, you can't shame me in front of… I'm not shaming you, he said. You managed that on your own. The music was gone now. Silence buzzed in everyone's ears. Then came the sound people would talk about for years, crystal exploding as the frame hit the floor. She did this, Amber did all of this, Victoria sighed. Funny, the only thing your sister did was hand over the truth. Outside, my car idled. Light from the ballroom danced across the water. I couldn't catch every word, but I heard the scream, high, raw, ricocheting over the lake, followed by the crash of a chair. The sound I'd waited my whole life to hear, not out of spite but release. Inside, mascara carved black rivers down Laya's cheeks. You'll all regret this, she shrieked. Noah turned away. No, Laya, you will. He walked off the floor, Victoria followed, the crowd parted like curtains. Mom reached for Laya's arm. Sweetheart, maybe fresh air. Don't touch me, Laya jerked free. You never loved me enough. Dad spoke for the first time that night, voice soft. You owe your sister an apology. The room froze. Even Mom looked shocked. Laya laughed, a sound like breaking porcelain. Apologize to her, she's not even family. Dad shook his head. That's where you're wrong. He walked away, shoulders bent, following the stream of guests toward the exit. By the time the staff dimmed the chandeliers and began sweeping shards of crystal, Laya sat alone beneath the lights. Her once dazzling gown looked wilted and grey. The bouquet lay crushed beside her chair. The hands that had shoved me aside now clawed at nothing. She never saw me. I was already gone. Through my fogged window, I watched guests spill into the lot, whispers trailing like exhaust. It's trending already. Did you see his face? That poor girl, no, the other one. I felt no victory, just stillness. I rested my hand on the wheel and thought of the corridor. The scent of roses and bleach, the wobbly chair, how it all began with a table by the dumpsters, and ended with the truth laid bare before everyone who'd ever looked straight through me. Justice doesn't always thunder. Sometimes it murmurs, now they see. The scream dissolved into the night. The lake turned to glass again. I turned the key, headlights sweeping the gravel, and drove away from the sound of my sister's perfect world imploding. By the time I reached Boston, dawn was smudging the horizon. Highway signs blurred past, tires humming like a lullaby after decades of noise I'd trained myself to swallow. My phone vibrated non-stop, 16 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Dad, 1 unknown. I let them ring. Silence was worth more than excuses. Inside my apartment, the air smelled of coffee grounds and city rain. I hung the burgundy dress on a chair, it looked untouched, regal. Armor I hadn't realized I'd put on. A new text lit the screen, please pick up Amber, we didn't know. Mom always said that when the consequences finally arrived. We didn't know, but she had known. Every time she told me to hush, every time she praised Laya's cruelty, every time she said, you're fine. I flipped the phone face down and opened my laptop. A map of Maine glowed, tiny harbors I'd never visited. I chose one at random and hit confirm. A week by the ocean sounded like breathing room. Before I left, I stepped onto the balcony. Morning air tasted clean. Across the water, the sun sliced the skyline gold and sharp. They could keep their regrets, their rewrites, their half-truths. I had the real one now. For the first time, quiet didn't mean erased. It meant unchained. At my sister's wedding, I was seated by the dumpsters. This morning I'm sitting by the river, same quiet, brand new meaning. Then it was shame, now it's peace. Sometimes the fiercest revenge isn't shouting. It's the soft click of your heels walking away. They assumed I'd wait forever for scraps of love. I don't wait anymore. I don't plead for a chair at someone else's table. I set my own. If you've ever been shoved aside by the people sworn to cherish you, hear this. Leaving isn't surrender. It's the first step to owning your life. Tell me, have you ever had to walk away from the family you were born into?